And I'll monitor the chat and the, if you have, anybody has any questions, feel free to put them in there and I'll try to either answer them or hand them off to Eric. So feel free.
Thanks, Bunny, and good morning, everyone. Yeah, I'm really excited to show this tool because I think you'll find that there's a lot of versatility with this, and you might find use on your end to provide content and teaching presence to your students a very easy way, and for also your students to be able to engage in the coursework and the class with a very media-rich component. So I want to just, as long as people are coming on board, as I'm sharing my screen, I will reiterate that we do have some good resources to always be pulling to. So if you haven't gone here or have just stopped in every once in a while, just a gentle reminder, we do have the Faculty Moodle resources site available to all of our faculty ongoing. So feel free to jump in there and check in on any resources as you're building your course or trying to tool or retool any aspect of your course. And Moodle 101 and 102 is our series for really getting a foundational start on Moodle. If you're feeling like that, this is where you want to begin to kind of get a primer for all of this. That would be my recommendation to always start at Moodle 101. And then you can always connect with our e-learning team, your LFC and Bonnie and Jenny Hansen for any questions you might have as well. So I'm going to start with something called, this is built off of our workshop that we did on Tuesday, where I introduced and did an overview of our content editor in Moodle. And that is, has a great feature set of being able to record audio and video directly into where that content would be inserted in your course. So this would be in a label, in a Moodle page, in any description fields for your activities, such as a form or assignment. You can also do it in your course section summaries that are on the main course page. Also are available to add content in this way. So I'm going to go jump to my sample course to highlight that. So I'm going to start with a video recording in my label here that says use this section. This is a label coming from our revised Moodle template. So if you want to use this or kind of mimic this look, you can go to our template and pull this content in. So I'm going to turn editing on, and I'm going to edit this label. This is a label here that says use this section. And I might just say I'm going to use this as a weekly summary. And I could do additional content in here and make some text here, but I'm also going to just go ahead and start with inserting a video comment or a video summary from me to my students, and that'll show at the top of the page. And so you'll see in my editor here, I have a collection of tools. What I'm looking for and focusing on this morning are these two right here. It has a microphone and then a video camera, and it'll say record audio or record video. And just to point out a difference here, this is insert audio and video. That's if you have a file already produced. Maybe you've created an exported video from a VoiceThread or some other screen capture tool. You can add and upload something there. But what I'm focusing on is ways you can engage in creating content on the fly. Okay, very, very integrated, very straightforward, and probably the most efficient way to go if you're doing something fairly concise. So I'll click this record video button. I've done this on my, and so you're gonna get a very clean pop-up window that says record video, and I'm gonna go ahead and start recording. We'll see what happens with a Zoom meeting share at the same time. I think it should work. And you'll see my screen. Hi everyone, welcome to the first week of class. Please make sure you're looking at the getting started section of your course. You can stop that recording. You can have an option to play that back. If you like it, you can attach the recording, or you can start over, record it again, so you've got more chances that, than just the first shot. I'm going to go and attach that recording. It uploads it into my content editor. and it's going to wrap that into a nice player for me. And you'll see that's included in my weekly summary. So I'm going to go ahead and save that label update, and you'll see that posted in my label on the course main page. I'm going to turn my editing off so we can see the little cleaner. It's right here, centered in the content. So it's nice presence for you, and I didn't have to go to any external tool to do that. It's all built into the content editor. Any place you have the content editor in Moodle, you can do this. So that's why it's so flexible and integrated that way.
And notice that it always screen captures an odd expression on your face.
Yep, that's a feature, not a bug. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first week of class. Please make sure you're looking at the getting started section of your course. And you'll notice that while I did that, I can full screen that video. So you do have that. It's not always has to be a small section. And then I would, record over that for the next week if I wanted to do that. Okay, so that's a quick introduction to the video recording. Audio recording is very similar, only it just records the audio and not your video, okay? You will get a prompt the first time you do this in Moodle each year, where Moodle will ask or request access to your microphone and camera on your device. It's a one-time thing. You will need to allow that. Students will also need to do that too as a one-time thing. So just be aware of that, and we'll try to make sure that's covered in our documentation. All right, so how would we use this as students who might want to participate in your course? I'm going to start with the introduction form. That might be a very logical next step, is to recommend people gain that trust with their other students in the class with a introduction. And you can do it via audio or text. So I've got my introduction form. And what I'm actually going to do is, let me see if I can switch. I'm going to go to a different screen where I have a student view of this course. And so I'm going to go to that introduction form. And I can view an existing, so I'll just kind of go to this. This is someone else's introduction. They've done that same thing. Right, and so everyone can view that in the form thread, okay? There's nothing special you have to do in your form activity configuration or settings to allow this to happen, because the forum posts by default provide that content editor for your students. And so that will be available for them to use right off the bat. Before I go on, are there any questions worth mentioning?
There was just one question about, is there a way to hide the still image on the main page? I recommended that they could put it on a Moodle page one level down, and that way it would be, the image, it always appears as an embedded video kind of image. But you don't necessarily have to have it on your main page. You're showing it in a forum right now. You could have put it in the introduction forum in the directions and ask that. Have you mentioned the time limit on these?
No, I've not. Yeah, there is a time, as you might have seen in my video that I recorded, there was a countdown timer of 2 minutes down to 0. So there is that limitation built into this tool and part of that is just for hardware limitations and capacity within our Moodle system. If we had it opened up for an hour's worth of video for everyone anytime, I think we would probably run into some concerns. But also pedagogically, it's helpful to try to keep your ideas concise for that discourse.
Yeah, Diane just said, don't underestimate how much you can accomplish in 2 minutes. Yes, 2 minutes is a lot longer than it sounds when it comes to video. There was also another question about closed captioning, and no, we don't have closed captioning for this at this time.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is a limitation. Yeah, there's some trade-offs here of how quick and easy it is to do versus some of that fuller featured component. So I wanted to talk about another example using the assignment module and how students might be able to use this for the assignment versus a forum environment. So the benefit obviously with the assignment module is that you can then just get more private dialogue with your student. If there's an individual one-on-one transaction that you want to see, the assignment is a better place for that. And what I'm going to do, the key is that you want to set your assignment. Oops, jump back to this one here. Sorry, I've got two windows to work with. So I'm going to use this vocal warm-up recording assignment. And I'm going to change my settings here just to show you where I'm going. By default, you have a file submission option in your assignments. You will also want to enable the online text. This is the key factor to make sure that that content editor is available to your students when they add that submission. Okay, so this is the one right here that is probably not going to be enabled by default. If you want to have that video recording within, integrated within the editor, you'll want to make sure that editor is turned on. Okay. And then what's great about that submission, so they'll see the online text area to enter that. They can type in and put audio or video in, but then they could also upload a file if they wanted to do that too. That might provide you the most flexibility for your students to enter. If you're asking them to provide a video file or an audio file, they can do either one. They can either record with those tools in Poodle, the integrated recording, or they can upload a file that they've recorded elsewhere. And I think that gives them the most versatility for what you would, for what they need to do. Maybe there's a hardware problem that they're fighting and they need to have an alternative. That's a good way to do that. So have both online text and the file submission enabled for this. When students have submitted their work using the Poodle plugin in the content editor, it's really great because you can actually play that content right within the page of viewing all submissions. So this is really great. My warm-up is probably not that great, but it's great that you can get to it right away. And here's Carl Camel's video. Right, so you can drill down, hear those submissions, and enter their grade with the View All Submissions panel of the assignment module.
Eric, can you return to, I understand you're explaining this in the assignment. There was a question about the online text step.
Yeah. About what that would look like?
Just why you would take it, how you would do it, what just the default is.
Yeah, so if I were to use the assignment module, typically when you create one, let me go to that. Let's see, am I in the right? Let me show you one more. Let me show you one other place I've got something. Okay. Yeah, when the students see their assignment and they look to submit something, they're going to see this online text right here. So if I'm submitting my assignment, you'll see online text, and this box here will be where they enter their information, and that toolbar will be present for them to record using audio or video from that. If I'm not using that, there'll be, if I just see, let me just go to a different page. If I wanted to submit.
Eric, this is Diane. I think you cleared it up. You use the word text and I think printed words. And so the idea there is that text doesn't mean just printed word.
Right. So let me,
okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, that's right. I'm going to edit my, yeah, that's okay. And my edit submission here. So I've got my audio recording that I did with this tool. And I can enter my additional comments here.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and you'll see here's the file submissions section of my assignment as a student that normally would be visible and is expected as a default. So I could upload a file using that zone as well if I chose not to use the online text options.
But if you didn't check that box for online text, then they would only see that submission box.
Right.
That's
This
the
online text component wouldn't be available in the assignment. It would only be the file submissions. And so now you've lost that integration.
That's what I didn't understand. Thank you.
I'll leave it at that, kind of hopefully to find inspiration of how you might design some things for your students to engage in this way. Again, you can do this tool is available through the web browser. So if you have a full web browser as a student, you can access this online text or content editor in Moodle when they're submitting work to an assignment or a forum post. You can attach files through the Moodle app, the Moodle mobile app on a device, but it will not be the same interface of the Poodle integrated tools. So just be aware of that if you're looking for these tools in particular, you might want to suggest that students use a full web browser for that. But the file submissions option would still be available here. Not to say that they can't record video on the fly in a mobile app, so I hope I'm not misspeaking too much. It's just using a different tool set to do that. So the Moodle mobile app does allow for live, on-the-fly recording of audio and video. It will just show up as an attachment of a file instead of within the content of their text submission.
The question is whether there's the same time limit for that.
I believe so. I actually should double check on that. I think that is the case. I'll try to verify that and document it.
Okay, so if there's no more questions about the content editor, if there are, feel free to go ahead and put them in the chat.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
So I'm thinking of a language class, right? And you have a very basic assignment. You want a student to read a sentence so that you can check their pronunciation. Would this be the best, maybe the best tool for that?
I think absolutely, yes.
Post it as an assignment. You type in the sentence you want them to read, and then they record themselves reading it.
Yes, I would agree that's the right one to use, both for the ease of the students' access to just drop that in very quickly, also for your workflow after the fact, because of that view all submissions page allows you to drop in and play every student submission on the same page. It's very quick for you to
Great. So just to clarify, that tool, the audio and the video tool, that's integrated into basically any type of assignment you want. It's not an assignment on its own. Is that correct?
Right. It's just using the assignment module that you're used to already. Right. It's
okay.
Not a special tool to add.
Okay. Great. Thanks. Yeah,
it's on the toolbar. So any Moodle activity or resource, that feature is available. We have some more questions, Eric. Doug Green says, I had trouble replaying Poodle videos I did last term. Is that different now?
I think this is always getting incrementally better and better. The new version of Poodle, those two options in the content editor to record this, has been revamped pretty significantly since last year. The look and interface of it is quite cleaner. So I think you're going to see some marked improvement in performance on the playback.
Eric, this is Doug. I just want to be clear about what the problem was. So I did some responses using Poodle. And then when I went back in to look at those replies, just to refresh myself if I was in conference, all I would see was a link, and the link really didn't do anything. Is that different now? Or was that another problem? Was that something I was doing wrong?
Yeah, I can't speak exactly to that. I would think that if it was recorded and then added as an attachment file, that sounds different than what we want to see here, where it's embedded and displaying for you right off the bat. And because you can upload a file, maybe been some process like that was slightly different from what we're showing today.
Doug, I wonder if, Eric, what do you think about this? If he had gone to the gradebook and looked at a student's gradebook, would the video have shown up there in the feedback section? It might have.
Yeah, I think that's possible because you do have that option in the feedback to have the editor tools, right?
Yeah, because I'm thinking about like when you put it in, it appears as a link. It's when you open it up in the forum that you actually see the, the forum post, you see that thing. I wonder if it works kind of the same way, that you have to look at it sort of almost in the student view feedback.
Okay.
Doug, I can send you some screenshots of what that might entail.
That would be great. Thank you.
Okay.
And this is really exciting. So I just want to make sure I can get it right. Okay. Thanks.
And I want to call out Christy's comment too. Thanks, Christy, that we are using a new editor altogether from the previous year's default, which also changes the behavior and look of that tool. So I think all good improvements to make this a little cleaner experience for everyone.
But that's exactly the kind of thing that we would love to hear from you, that you're having trouble with that, so we can chase down what the solution is, and that'll help us, with everybody else too. So if you find any hiccups, please send them to us. Okay, let's move on to H5P if we could. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Donnie, could I get, Raphael had a question, his hand raised. I wanted to
Sure, I'm sorry, go ahead.
him first.
I do, Eric. Just a quick question on design of the design of the gradebook. It's most likely this year that I'll have that I won't be able to know how many discrete assignments I'll have before I go into the semester. Because of these kinds of tools where it'll be great to get this kind of feedback and I can hear things, right? So that means that in any given, let's say I have a category that's weighted 15%, and the number of assignments will vary throughout the semester. And as I add assignments, remember last year we ran into a problem within categories that as I added assignments later, then they weren't weighted equally within the category. And you said that was not by design. That was a problem because they should just get weighted equally if they're within the category. Is that something that's been addressed?
Yeah, I think so. And perhaps maybe, I know we're going to be probably talking in more detail ahead of things for any designing on that. But yeah, I want you to have confidence that the number of assignments or aspects that you're providing for assessment, if whatever you need to do on that, we can plan and accommodate that. So yeah, and we're happy to talk through the gradebook design for anyone. So please feel free to reach out to your LFC on that. And yeah, Raphael, I can talk with you with any other questions.
Before the pandemic, I used to say that the Moodle gradebook was our e-learning team's job security, because gradebook issues are always very personal. So please know that we don't expect you to be gradebook experts. Again, that's our job security. So feel free to reach out to us at any time, send us an email, let us know you're having trouble or have questions about it. It's the most complex part of the learning management system. So, okay, are we good now? Maybe to move on to H5P, or I'm going to take that silence as an okay. Are you seeing my Moodle course? Somebody
Yes,
know?
you can.
Okay, great. I don't know, sometimes the green frame doesn't show up around it and sometimes it does. You know what, I'm going to stop sharing for a minute because I forgot to click the sound. All right, let's try that. Okay, this is, we're in Moodle 201 right now, and that's on everybody's dashboard. Moodle 201 is a sort of some advanced Moodle skills. It focuses on quizzing, Moodle forums or online discussions, and Moodle assignments. Now, the reason I'm in here is just to show you that this is all composed of H5P videos. I created my own videos, put them into YouTube so I could caption them, and then put them into the H5P tool in Moodle so I could annotate them. So if you have any interest in seeing a little bit of these H5Ps in action, feel free to move into Moodle 201, and you might actually pick up some information about Moodle as well as you watch them. But let's talk about how to create an H5P. And I want you to look at a simple one, and this is actually from Moodle 201. It's about forum directions. And what I've done here is, like I said, I've got a video that I created. You can actually also use any web video and then put it into this Moodle tool, and I'll show you how in just a minute. First, I just want to sort of demo what it looks like. And then what I'm able to do then is add annotations. And if you look down here and see these little white dots, those are the annotations. So, you know, you students would start to play. Oops, I've already finished this one. Let's start over again. There we go.
In addition to creating small groups,
I'm
you
going to
need
fast forward with this because you know, like anybody else, I hate to listen to my own voice. But we'll get near now to this first annotation.
to read and thoughtfully reply to others.
So what happens here is you can make the video pause, and then you can put in this case, a multiple choice question. Couple of great things you get here. Now, I know that if you use video in the classroom, face-to-face classroom, probably there are times where you're going to stop that video and ask your students a question. It gives you that opportunity to make this an engaging experience where you're kind of checking on students, you know, understanding. It's formative assessment. It's like, did you just get the main points there, the important points in this video? I'm going to see if I can get this right. There we go. So I'm going to answer that question, and then I can do a check. If I answered it wrong, I'd have the chance to try again. The other thing that this video does is, in addition to sort of doing that formative assessment, it is a way for you to provide online asynchronous content like videos and make sure that your students not only understand what's happening in the video, but actually have watched the video. So it gives a check on their completion of an online assignment. We put things in there, we ask them to do them online asynchronously. Well, this is a way of confirming that they've actually done it. So we've continued
To assist you with
next little annotation here.
toolbar available in every Moodle activity.
So this is, I've already done this one, so it's in the wrong place. This is a little drop and drag. These are different kinds of questions and annotations you can put in here. So this is a very visual one. Here's the old toolbar, and I want to make sure that people understand about this predefined template tool, which we talked about the other day. Eric talked about that, which gives you text of different things that you would want to use in your course, and it's already there for you, and it's a template, you can just dump it in. So this is a drag and drop. We want to make sure that they understand where the template tool is. And then we'll go further down here.
Looking at both their initial responses and their interaction with others.
So again, I've already done this one. But this is one where you can highlight certain text. So I've picked certain words in this sentence, and I've asked, you know, which of these words provide specific guidance, because we're talking about directions here. And so you can pick that word and then continue. And then at the very end, this is where the students will get the prompt to submit their answers. This will go into the gradebook. Now, again, you can either count these points towards the course total. You know, you can put them in a category like Raphael was just talking about, and weight that category as a certain percentage. Or you could also just weight it 0 in the gradebook if you really, you know, you want to know that they've completed it, but you don't necessarily want those points to count towards the final grade. So that's basically the idea here, is that it's a way for you to take something that is basically non-interactive, I'm sorry. Students would just passively watch a video and make it an active activity. So let's look at how we would do that. So I've got this TED Talk here. We're not going to watch it, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the URL for it. So here it is. Here's the link. I'm going to say I want to copy the link, and I'm going to go back to my course, and I'm going to add an activity or resource, and I'm going to choose this H5P interactive content tool. Now, the tool is actually almost like a library of different kinds of interactive activities. You know, Moodle has been created for K through 12 as well as for higher ed. And so a lot of these activities, and you might want to look through them and see if there's any others you want to, but a lot of them are geared more for like a way to put short little formative assessment into something. But we used the interactive video the most. It's one we're most interested in, and the one we're going to talk about today. So you can see there's 3 steps, and actually step 3, the summary task, you do not need to do. It's the first 2 that you really need to do. So the first thing you need to do is to add the video. So I'm going to click on this block, and if I had an actual video file, an MP4, I could drag and drop and put that in here. We kind of recommend, you know, again, as Eric was talking, we want to keep our file sizes down in Moodle. So you would do best if you have a Moodle, an MP4 file, to actually put it in your Google Drive. That would enable you to get the URL and put the URL in here instead. So I'm going to go ahead and put that URL in that I just got, and I'm going to insert. Of course, I picked one that's not going to work. I didn't check ahead of time. Don't know why it's not working. Yep. Sorry about that, folks. I didn't test ahead. Okay, let's go back and grab. I was so sure that a TED Talk would be fine. Let me grab the URL from here.
This is Nathan. Download, but
You're breaking up, Nathan. I don't know. I know you're trying to help me here. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to add a video. I'm going to put the URL in, and I'm going to say I want to insert. So now I go to the second step, which is to add my interactions. So here's my video. I could start to play it. And I'm just going to advance it a
In
little
addition
here.
to creating small groups, online discussion provides the virtual space for students to interact more fully with each other and shifts the responsibility for the conversation onto their shoulders.
Okay, so let's say I want to put an interaction in there. I want to put a true or false question in. So I would stop the video and I would come up here, and here's my toolbar. Now there's all kinds of things I can insert here. I can insert a label. I can insert a text box. Maybe instead of giving them a question, I actually want to put in a comment. I'm gonna say, notice the big ball that the students are pushing around or something. I can put in a table. I could put in a link. Let's say that I want to, right at this moment in the thing, I want them to go to now a web page to look at something that relates to this. I could put in an image. These would be, I guess, bullet statements. There's just different ways to put text in. There's a single choice set. This is a multiple choice where there's only one correct answer. This is multiple choice where there might be more than one correct answer. I just usually use the multiple choice. It'll still be fine if you just have one correct answer. I'm going to put a true or false question in. So here's the time when I have stopped the video right here. And I'm going to pause the video. I could let the video continue to play while that pop-up comes up, but I really want to stop the video and have them answer the question and then continue, and the video will restart. Well, when do I want the video to restart? I don't want them to have to wait 10 seconds for the video to restart. So I'm going to say I want it to restart about 4 seconds later. So I'm going to make this 77. So as soon as they hit that continue button, that in just less than a second, the video will continue to replay. Now I can have that pop-up come just a button, which they then have to click to open. I don't really want to have any extra clicks in this. So I'm going to say I want a poster. And I have to name this. So I'm just going to call this the first true and false. I don't even know what my question is going to be. I know, I'll say, the ball is multicolored. Okay, and it is, so I'm going to leave it true. I don't need to worry about any of these other things. In fact, we can actually, you can enable the retry button. In fact, I'm going to back up and I'm going to leave this alone because we're going to do behavioral settings for the whole video in just a minute. We can just leave these default because we're going to set them for the whole one. And then I'm going to say that I'm done. So now you can see, here's my little poster. I'm going to move it more into the middle of the video, and I'm going to stretch this out because I want them to be able to see the whole continue, check, and all that kind of stuff. So I'll make it a little bit bigger. Now, if I wanted to edit this question, I can do it at any point when I'm in edit settings. I just would click on the window. That's going to bring up this toolbar. So I can choose to edit, which is going to take me back into this mode. I could copy this question, bring to the front, obviously it's already to the front, and I could remove it. So probably edit is the one that you're going to use the most. And then, okay, I've got my question created. Now I'm going to
But just like in the traditional classroom,
and let's say I want to add another question.
Should they compare and contrast the two? Are they expected to reference the readings, and should they include their own opinions or simply summarize? And how are students expected to reply to each other?
Okay, so let's say I want to put another question in. Here I would, let's add a multiple choice. Again, we want to look at the time. This is the time we want it to restart after they answer the question. Again, I'm just going to put a little bit more time in here. I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to select poster. I'm going to give it a choice, or I mean a name. Or I could make the name more about it, what it's about. Let's see. Okay, so let's say yes. Whoops. And of course, that's the correct name, answer. No. That's the incorrect answer. Add an option, maybe. And again, just say none. Now there are other, obviously, things that you can look at, other options for ways of scoring this and everything else. I'm just showing you the simplest way because this works really well. For most people, this is how you'll do this. And then we can just continue. Now here's the important thing. When you get to the end,
assignments. Use these suggestions to vary your online discussions.
You want to click that star because this is the screen where they're going to have to submit their answers. If you don't do this step, then it's not going to integrate with the gradebook. This is, the students have to say, yes, submit my answers, and that's when the score goes into the gradebook. So I'm going to say, yes, I want to add submit screen at that point, and that's when that is going to bring that screen up. So let's go back and let's look at, I'm going to actually save this and then come back in. Oh, I have to name the whole video. So let's call this test 2. Okay, so going back to when I first added this, before I started adding in the video and everything else, I can make choices here in these behavioral settings. So start video at, well, it's going to start the video at the beginning of this video, but let's say I had a video, a YouTube or something, and it has ads at the beginning. I could probably go to where the video actually starts and put that in as a start time, and it would skip those, that thing. Or if I have a long video and I only want to show the students portions of it, like I just want them to see like the middle part of it, I can go ahead and choose that time start, and then it'll start at that time. Start playing the video automatically. Most of us are used to clicking that little start arrow, so I don't do that, but you could say, yes, as soon as they click it, it could start to play. Loop the video. Again, well, this is a choice. Do you want them, and when it's done, to just start playing again? That could be your choice. There is a show solution button, which will show students the answer after they try. I usually disable this one. So here's the deal. When it comes through, this means that it will automatically show. It's actually automatically enabled. If I choose enable, then that gives me the option to, in each question, make a different choice. I can either say enable or disable. I usually make the choice to disable the show solution button for all the videos. But I do leave the retry button there so that if they get it wrong, they can try again. Now here's a really important one. Prevent skipping forward in a video. This would be the way for you to ensure that they are going to watch that complete video all the way to completion. They can't just skip forward to the annotations and answer the answers and then get to the end and submit them. So for instance, PA department, they were moving some of their content asynchronously online, and they have to make sure, like their accrediting agency says that students have to watch this video. They have to get this knowledge. And so they went ahead and they put prevent skipping forward in the video. That made sure that the students would watch that to completion. I actually think this is a great feature because when you are giving students online content, you're saying, I want you to watch this. So I would recommend that. You probably don't want to check this until you've already made your H5P and it's ready to go, because it won't let you skip forward either too. So when you're still doing your editing and making sure it's okay. But so I usually wait until the end, and that's when I go ahead and click that.
Bonnie, can I just interject? I think the button option to allow students to rewind 10 seconds can be really handy for catching that content, and that might be worth using as a default practice.
That's good too, thank you. Okay, so then we come down here. Now the default grade for this is 10 points. I usually just leave it because I use my gradebook categories in order to weight everything. But you could change that to a different grade. Right now there's only 2 questions in here, so Moodle will do the math, if they get them wrong or right. And then I also think it's good to use the activity completion, because it's just a way for you to see what students have completed, what activities, especially as perhaps you're making more online content. It's a good way to see very quickly in this activity report, and we'll probably have tips on the activity completion coming up really soon. So if you don't know what activity completion is, stay tuned and look at upcoming tech tips and tips. But this will give you a report, and you probably want to see that the student has received a grade, which means they've watched it all the way through and they've gotten a grade. And then it would be save and display. So now it's all set to go. Your students would simply come in, they would see the assignment and the course, they would click on it, and you're good to go. Do we have any questions? I see the chat has been busy.
I have another one. It looks like the questions that you integrated in there for students to answer are mostly of the objective type, true, false, multiple choice. Are open-ended answers allowed as well? For example, could you have a student record an answer to a question, or repeat a sentence after you in another language?
Oh, there is not a recording device in this. No, it's not an option. You could, there is a fill in the blank. So there could be text. Let's see, there's a drag and drop, mark the words. That's the one with the different mark the words.
Can the fill in the blank be open-ended, where it's not an obvious answer?
No, these are objective. The value to that is it gets auto-graded. You don't have to go in and grade it yourself. We'd have to look at other options. I think probably you would want to use VoiceThread for that kind of an activity, where you would have maybe a sentence up there and they would have to record themselves saying it or doing something or whatever.
Okay,
But
thank you.
H5P is not really built for that. It's really built more like a quizzing kind of tool.
We had a question, this is Nathan, from Emily about if a student has multiple attempts, if they're allowed to take the quiz multiple times, how the points are tallied up.
You know, to tell you the truth, I always see this as such a formative assessment thing that I don't think about whether students get things right or wrong necessarily. If you allow retries, I believe that they will get the score for that point. If you didn't allow retries, then I think that they would only get points for the ones they got correct.
So it accumulate.
Yeah, at the end, let me go back to that other one.
In the case of Bonnie's example where there were 2 questions and the overall activity was worth 10 points, it would have split equally each of those questions. So it'd be 5 points each, essentially, for that particular instance.
I think I got all of the questions.
As a result of the pandemic, instructors are being compelled to rely on learning technologies to a much greater extent than in the past.
Fast forward.
As you prepare your classes for the upcoming
I don't know if I answered your question, Emily. If any of the LFCs want to chime in and give a better answer. Or if you wanted to, Emily, if you wanted to unmute and ask your question.
Hi, sorry, it took me a minute. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I think you did answer my question. I was just wondering, you know, like with the multiple choice when you're creating a quiz, like a Moodle quiz, it'll kind of give you 2 points if you answer it right the first time, 1 point if you answer it right the second time. So I just wasn't sure if it was a similar setup for this or if it was just like keep answering it till you get it right and then, you know, which is fine.
Yeah,
I agree, this is totally a formative thing. So I just was curious.
Yeah, it's not nearly as robust as quizzing. So yes, if you let them retry, then they could just keep trying until they got it right.
Great, thanks. That answers my question.
Great, thank you.
We had a question from Matt. Does prevent skipping only prevent upon first viewing?
You mean, yes, you mean prevent skipping forward? That is every time. So here's what I did with PA, because they wanted to confirm that students had watched it fully, but then they also wanted that video to be available to students so that they could review for tests. So I actually created the H5P, and then we had a restricted access for the actual link to just the video, not in H5P, but just as a video, so that once they had completed watching the H5P, that other link would open up and they would be able to watch that video, fast forward, back and forth, whatever they wanted to. So they had access to that content. Any other questions? Feel free to unmute yourself and ask them if you want. I mean, you don't need to write it in the chat.
One from Emily here. Can you show what you did at the end of the video again to require them to submit so that it's recorded in the gradebook?
Sure. Let's just add another one, and I won't go through the whole process of adding the well, I have to add one annotation. So this actually is good, because here's another thing you can do. So let's say you have a bunch of videos in your class and you're thinking, I don't have time to make all of these questions, okay? I want to, maybe in the future I'll have time, but I really want to use H5P to confirm that they're watching the video, but I don't know that I have time to make all these questions. So what you could do is dump your video in. I'm not going to do this. Well, we can do those settings right again. So we're going to say we don't want the show solution. We do want try again. We want show button for rewinding. We prevent skipping. We want activity completion. They have to receive a grade. Okay, so here we go. And I have to name it. Actually, I already have one. It's 2. Okay, so I have to have at least one interaction in the video in order to have it score to the gradebook. In other words, it won't just say that they watched it, they actually have to do something. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fast forward all the way.
In addition to creating small groups, you need to clarify your expectations regarding when and how students should post if you want your forum discussions to be successful.
Sorry, I did display instead of, I'm in the wrong thing here. How am I doing, folks? Good.
Excellent.
Yeah. All right, let's go into editing mode here because I need my interactions. Okay. So I did the first step and then I hit this save and display instead of doing my second step, which is to add my interactions. All right, here we are. So I'm going to add one interaction at the very end of this. So let me go ahead and start it. And I'm going to fast forward. I'm going to put it right about
To
there.
a sampler of forum assignments.
Okay. So now I'm going, I don't know why this keeps coming up. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and put in a true or false question because that's probably the easiest. Again, I'm going to have to change this. I only have a few seconds. So let's just make it 240. Let me do this. Okay. I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to put it in as a poster. It's going to just be a true false question. I can name it whatever I want. And then I'm going to say, this video was great. Okay. And I'm going to leave it as true because, of course, it's very true. And I'm going to say done. I'm going to expand this here. All right. So my annotation's all set. Now I have one more step. This little green star at the end, that's what I've got to click in order to get that other screen up for the students to submit their answers. So I'm going to
use these suggestions to vary your online discussions.
Boom, I'm going to click that star, and then I'm going to say add submit screen at 247. That's going to give me that screen at the end, so students have to click. They'll only have one answer to one question, and but that's a way for you to very quickly, if all you care about is making sure that they watch the whole video, that's a great way to do that very quickly. Okay, any other questions?
Bonnie, is there an open-ended option besides true, false, multiple choice? I can't remember if I saw that.
There is a fill in the blank. There is no real open-ended.
No,
fill in the blank, they have to give this, the same answer.
Yeah,
are always tricky.
I just like to have something that's not just a, toss a coin, true or false, or, for some of those. That would allow me to do something that's substantive to whatever they're watching. So thank you.
Yeah,
okay.
Me too. Thanks.
I can imagine you could combine an H5P, guarantee they've watched it, and then have a second activity like a forum, which is be open-ended, or a quiz with an essay question or something like that.
It's good. It's a good suggestion, Nathan. Pairing it with something else that's more critical thinking-ish. This is really objective.
I think the other advantage of embedding, though, is the more ins and outs and the more steps and the more separate things they have to do is sometimes a bit of a deterrent. So I do like the option of it's this one thing, not do this thing, now go do this thing, and now go do this thing. But it's good to know for some things that when you need more substantive or comprehension kind of stuff, that's a really good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and following up on that, is it possible to embed a link like at the end of the video? So you're done watching this, now click on this link for the forum.
That is one of the options. Of course, the problem is that submit button is the end is at the very end. So you'd have to you'd kind of have to fit it in there. They'd have to come back into the video in order to finish. But
Okay,
there,
so
you know,
it's
embedding a link is one of the interactions.
Excuse me. If we have older media, like actual photographs, or older presentations that I've done before, do you have to scan those in somehow? And then how do you get those actually entered into the presentation to use
So,
as presentation?
so when you say older stuff, it's not a video you've made or something. It's just a bunch of images that you'd like to show
Yeah.
them.
For example, I mean, I've spent a lot of time in Latin America.
Hello?
And some photos there that I would like to
Hello?
present as an example of, you know,
Hello?
I'm not sure who's saying hello, but hello. In any case.
Okay, I think we muted that. Okay. Keep going. So what my suggestion would be a couple of different things. I'm sorry, I muted you. Didn't mean to. Let me unmute you. Or you can unmute yourself. I'm sorry. I was trying to stop the hello.
Yeah, photos from a different time or some other photos, say from Susan Bisalis or something like that from El Salvador or Nicaragua or someplace from a previous 30 or 40 years ago.
So you've got a couple of options here. One would be to make a little video using like a screencasting tool and just bring up those and talk about them. I think maybe the tool that might work better for you is VoiceThread, because then you can drop all of those images into the VoiceThread. I don't know if you came to the session the other day where we talked about VoiceThread, but you know what would be good is if you could meet with either myself or your LFC, and we could help you figure out the best tool to use. But you would need to make a video in order to use the H5P. But there are other options for how you could present those images as well and have, you know, audio.
Okay, thank you.
The first step would be scanning them, as you mentioned. So if you don't have them scanned into your computer, that'd be something to work on now.
Other questions? How are we doing? We just have a few minutes left.
Time limits on length of videos in H5P?
You know, I don't believe there is. Christy might know the answer to that
Looks
question.
like Eric responded.
Oh, okay.
No time limit, we think. File size limit for the uploaded video of 256 megabytes, but we again recommend using, if you have an actual video file, put it in Google Drive rather than putting the video itself into Moodle, just because Moodle courses can get really full, really big, and bloated quickly, since video is the largest type of file.
And then the problem is not just a Moodle problem, but it's a problem when you go to bring your course over from year to year. If that file gets too big, you have to bring it over in parts, and it's kind of a pain. So yeah, you have unlimited room in your Google Drive.
Just a quick question about the Google Drive, putting a video in Google Drive. Are there any steps there to creating permissions for your students to see that in Google Drive, or is that done automatically?
As long as you say that anybody, usually I check anyone with an, from Augsburg can view, because students will be logged into, Moodle, and so that shouldn't cause any problem.
If you wanted a video that had a little bit more closer control, and so you only wanted that video available to your immediate class, what I would do is create a Google Drive folder and place that video in that folder, with the folder permissions being set specifically to those students enrolled in your course. The benefit of a folder then is you can add additional files intended for that course into that same Google Drive folder, and the permissions are inherited from that. So it's a first step to build that or create that directory, but ongoing, it's a nice workflow for the course.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm getting at is there's not an option within Moodle to create a Google Drive folder, is there, where it's automatically assigned to your course? You have to do that separately in Google Drive. Is that correct?
That is correct. There is not an integration to be aware of the course enrollment and tie that to permissions of a folder or file.
So you have to go in and manually type in all the students from your class when you're giving permissions to the Google Drive folder?
That's right.
Okay.
I had one last question about the password. Some of the videos I use require a password to access the video. They're like linked on Vimeo, but you have to enter a password to get into them. Is that going to be an obstacle when I'm trying to upload them to H5P?
Yeah, I believe so. I don't know if LFCs have any other. Yeah, that means they own it, so they're not going to let you use it that way.
And you'll know that pretty quickly. I think I guess the getting into trouble would be, whereas if you have password access to the video and you upload it into the H5P activity, your browser will have access to that password protected content because you have entered that in. So the video might show for you, but it wouldn't show for students who are having to enter that password that they don't have.
I apologize for what I think is a stupid question, but following back on what Michael had asked about the uploading the video to the Google Drive and then having to, so it sounded like we have to then send the invitations to students to Google Drive. So am I missing it? There's not a way of uploading that Google Drive video directly to Moodle, is that correct?
Well, when you put it in Google Drive, what you're then able to do is share and get a URL.
Okay.
That URL is what you would put in H5P.
Gotcha. Okay. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
And for just a workflow where you don't necessarily, I mean, if you share an item in Google Drive to others, you have the option to send them a message about that. In this case, where you know you're going to be delivering the content through your course in Moodle, I'd recommend not even sending them that invitation or announcement. You can still have the access that they need, but they'll get it when they click on the link in H5P.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
I actually, there's a big step that I did not just say. So you put it into your Google Drive. You're also going to have to put it into YouTube.
Okay, yeah, I knew there was something I was missing there. Okay.
Yeah, and so in fact, you should put it in YouTube instead of your Google Drive, probably. You know, and we all have a YouTube account through our Gmail, our Augsburg Gmail.
We do?
Yes, let me show you that.
Okay.
This is very new information, having to upload something to YouTube.
Yes. Okay. So if you go to your, just go to my email. Let's go to the calendar. Okay. So you go to, your picker up here for all your Google stuff. You have to scroll down to the more and then go to YouTube, and that's going to take you to your YouTube account. So you could use this just for your Augsburg things. You know, that's why I had trouble with that TED Talk URL, because it needs to be a YouTube. I really apologize. That was a big step.
That's super helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
And then there have to be communication between the Google Drive and the YouTube. I'm blanking here.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. It's my fault. You would not put that MP4 in your Google Drive. You would put it into YouTube.
Only YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you put the YouTube link into your Moodle.
That's right.
Okay.
I feel like a fool. I'm really sorry.
That's okay. I felt like I was asking a stupid question, so we're all human.
Okay, on that note, I'm going to stop this recording. Actually, I'm going to stop sharing first.